Hello and welcome to Concert Pipeline. That's Jens Schippel.
And that is Steve Jones.
And today on the program, Jens, we are bringing you not just a band, but a concert review, a live concert where there were people, about 8,500 of them, in one room together in COVID times, where shit went off the rails, and so we have some content to get to.
Yeah, can't wait to talk about it. Should we jump right into it?
I think we should, sure. The band that we have on the program, which we'll get to in just a little bit, is You, Me, and Everyone We Know. And I had a chance to talk to the lead singer, Ben Liebsch, and we'll get into that in just a bit. I mean, we had a really good conversation. Things got deep. But first, before things get deep, let me tell you about this concert that I went to last night, okay?
I want to hear all about it. Just a bit of background is that I had no idea you were going to a concert. It's just all of a sudden I got a text from you. You're like at this concert and you're wondering if you're going to be able to like
survive till 10:15.
Survive until 10:15, right?
I'm old, Jens, and I haven't been to a concert in a long time. And even since I haven't been to a concert in a long time, I've aged. And so, yeah, 10 o'clock is about my cutoff on a good night. And so
That's
making
hilarious.
it till getting home at midnight is a stretch. But I hung in there. I put on my big boy pants and I went and saw DJ Zedd. He's really popular. And there were a couple of openers also. We'll talk about kind of all of them and share some pictures. So if you're listening to this, you can check this out on YouTube at Concert Pipeline. Or on Facebook's Concert Pipeline's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Concert Pipeline Pod. Okay, so I had a chance to see Zedd, and I went to the Bill Graham Civic. I found out the night before the show that I got a press pass and a photo pass. So I was like, sure, I'll go to a show in the city. I didn't have my son like I had anticipated having him that night, and I figured, you know what, I'll do it. Right.
Nice. So Bill Graham Civic Center, that's right in downtown, isn't it? Isn't that right on Market or so?
Yeah, it's in the Mission area.
Oh, Mission. Okay.
Is that right? It is.
I don't know. I thought it was near like the Civic Center.
You're right. It is the Bill Graham Civic Center.
Right. So I figured it was next to the Civic Center.
You're right. I don't know. All I know is that there was a homeless, while I was sitting in my car eating my sandwich before the show, there was a homeless person in a wheelchair that was probably 12 yards away. And then he goes right out of my peripheral, and I see him throw this foldable like street blocker off. He folded over and threw it into the road, and then I can only see part of his wheelchair, and the part that I can see, like, it tipped over. I'm like, oh shit, is that guy okay? Like, what? This guy is belligerent. What is going on here? I'm like, I'm definitely not getting out of my car to go be of assistance, because I'm not messing with that shit, right? And and it turned out he took the blocker, and for whatever reason, he got out of his wheelchair and he used the road blocker to block off a parking spot. I don't know why.
Interesting.
The homeless.
There must have been some strategy there.
There must have been. But let's talk about the Zedd concert, shall we?
Yes, let's do that. So let's see. Let me think. So I was asking you, like, oh my God, okay, what concert are you at? And then you started talking about Bill Graham Civic, and you were there for this electronic music thing with this guy named Zedd. And then you sent me a link about a performance that he had earlier, 2017 or something, in Miami.
Yeah, so you could see it, because this conversation started out with, is EDM a band? Right. This text chain of which we had, and I had to educate you on, no, it's a type of music, and it's not even just a type of music, it's a culture. And we were doing this through text, and I'm like, and this is what YouTube is, old man. So here's a video for you to check out some of Zedd's past performance, right?
Right. So I was exhausted. I was so tired from that day that when I was listening to this thinking, oh my God, I cannot deal with this kind of music right now. But then this morning I was doing my laundry and I just turned it on again. I'm like, hey, this is really awesome. I can get into this. Okay, electronic, I get it. I totally get it. Fun clubbing music.
Yeah.
But then I get confused. It's like, okay, you said this was a concert, like there's no band.
There's no band, there's a DJ, and people go crazy for this shit. And so DJ Dials, which for our YouTubers you can see on the screen, he's a Bay Area dude. So he's mixing music and doing a DJ thing, right? And what was really interesting to me was that this was more than just a concert like we're used to. This is a culture. Like without being racist in any sense, I'd say probably 75-80% Asian, at least at this show. And a lot of people scantily clad, dudes with their shirts open, women wearing like bathing suits or underwear or something. And there's a lot of that, flashy articles of clothing, shoes that light up, and in some instances, makeup to the night. Yeah, it was an interesting event, right?
Interesting. Yeah. I was really getting into it this morning while I was doing laundry. I'm like, I've been watching the video. I'm seeing these people that you're describing. Like, they are so pumped. They are so into this. They're like super, super excited. But it's just a DJ, so it's I was really getting into the beat of the music and the mixing, and I'm like, God, if I was on the right drugs, I would love this. I've never been part of the rave scene. I don't know why. I should have. Maybe I'm a late bloomer. Maybe there'll be a second coming, but I got the vibe.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, yes, I think for many people at this sort of event, drugs are important to the culture of fully enjoying one of these events, right?
Right.
And actually, I saw one guy that snuck a bottle of some alcohol in his pants that got it in. He was super proud of it. So, you have your alcohol, you have your pot, your Molly, your whatever, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna stop you for a second. I just want to applaud this guy and your experience of witnessing this, because we need to match this guy's level of professionalism when it comes to getting outside alcohol into a concert venue. Because when you and I tried to do that at Bottle Rock,
it wasn't Bottle Rock even. It was just Bottle Rock fair. It was the county fair.
There was the county fair. We failed miserably. So when we go to Bottle Rock, which is coming up, baby stroller. I tell you, we got to shove that shit in a baby stroller.
It might be a little odd since we don't have any babies tomorrow, but
details.
Yes. So we started with DJ Dials, and then the next step was Wolfgang Gardner, and so they spin. DJ Dials was like an hour and 40 minutes or something, and Wolfgang Gardner would mixed for a little over an hour. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty back. I mean, there's not a big break. There's 5 minutes in between those two, and then 20 minutes before Zedd came on. And I tell you, people were nutty for him, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. So sorry, I don't want to date myself here, but I'm probably going to, and I'm gonna totally do my ignorance thing. But there used to be a song. It still is a song, but I mean, it's not new anymore. So there used to be a new song that I'm thinking about that goes like 2 turntables and a microphone.
Oh my God, that's from 1993 or something.
Yes,
Beck.
Thank you. Whatever. It's old.
That's Beck.
I still Beck. Okay, so I still think when it comes to DJs and raves and stuff, they're still using vinyl. Is that true?
I think some do. That's a great question, because I think there are probably analog DJs, but a lot of people have gone, in this especially, right? It puts the E in electric dance music,
yep.
Electronic.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, are you saying there's no vinyl electronic music? There's no VEM?
the EDM. Yeah, I don't think so, but there are different dynamics of DJs, right? So I think a lot
Yeah.
of it's programmed now, and then they just insert a lot of stuff there. Um,
But they are actually performing behind, like here we have Zedd right on screen. He's got this
yeah.
amazing plastic glass platform, whatever it is, with a bunch of equipment on it. And I'm imagining 2 turntables and a microphone. But he whatever this is, he is doing this live. Like it's not like somebody pressed a button in the back and he doesn't have to be there for this performance. He's actually doing the mixing live. He's not like lip syncing, so to speak, right?
So the funny thing is he's not singing, right? And he doesn't have a band. So the thing is that, you know, and I thought about this at the show last night, right? It's like, oh my God, you know, like there's a lot of money invested in this, and a lot of people are really big fans. But I, you know, as an outsider, I haven't been to, you know, many EDM performances, but I knew what the acronym meant, but there's nothing to stop the performer. And you know, I feel like, right, from recording a performance at home, plugging in your iPod. I'm going old school now, right? But using your iPod for the performance, and then just being like, you know, like they're mixing it or something, like you know, like they're doing it there. I mean, I don't think they do it. I think they'd lose a lot of respect if they did, but it's probably not that hard.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I would love to kind of, you know, get sort of on the inside of that and get a better idea of how the whole logistics work of one of these performances during a show. And like, you know, like for example, what if Zedd needs to get down off that platform? Do you see stairs anywhere? Like
I do in the back. Yes, I do in the back. He's gonna have to climb.
It's like a ladder. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, there's a ladder. Yeah. But he was very elevated. Bill Graham Civic has it's like a 6-foot stage as it is, and
well, elevated is the right word, because I think a lot of people were elevated.
A lot of people were elevated. Yes.
So any idea what the choice drug is for folks?
I didn't do any polling.
Really get a feel for the music?
I don't know, but I think as long as you're on it, and again, we say drugs, but a lot of it is just getting to your happy place. And people there, you know, I will say, like, their excitement was second level. Like, it was amazing.
You can feel it, right?
Yeah. I mean, they just were having such a good time. And before Zedd came on, I saw multiple groups like, let's hold hands, you know, and they walked through the crowd, because the crowd is, I mean, pretty packed, and people were really stoked. And look at this guy on the right, like he is just cloud 9.
He is in the zone. Like this dude has transcended. He is transcended space-time. He has won with every molecule in the universe. I mean, holy shit. He's won the game of life. Yeah.
But you can see the place was, you know, pretty packed, and there were pyrotechnics and, you know, a whole deal, right? I mean, let me show you kind of a wide shot of the crowd, which really impressive. Again, you know, I mean, I really want to commend the protocols that are put into place, because I've missed fucking concerts so much, right? And it was just great to be back at one. I've gone to, you know, I went down south 10 hours to go to a small thing outside Joshua Tree Festival. I went to one down, you know, in downtown Napa with local-ish bands, but this is the first real show that I've been to, and it's just great that people are able to, right? You have to download this Clear app, and you have to either be vaccinated or have gotten a negative test within 48 hours.
Interesting. Okay.
And you have to be masked. And, you know, I'll say not everybody, the mask rule, you know, people stopped, right? But 80% of people didn't. There were a lot of people still wearing their masks and taking it seriously, what we're in right now.
Yep.
So
damn, look at that mass. I'm surprised you said the number was what, 8,000 something?
So the Bill Graham Civic holds 8,500, and both nights were sold out of Zeds. So, I mean, we could say there were between 2 nights, 17,000 people, or, you know, some may have gone to both. But
I feel like I've missed out. I mean, clearly, I hope I'm living a parallel life, you know, and my other me is experiencing this insane shit, because it looks like a lot of fun.
You found your calling.
at least for 2 nights that I missed out on.
Yeah. Well, it was really enjoyable, and Zedd, himself, like, I didn't stay for the whole concert, right? I mean, I have an expiration, and but I did stay for
Clearly, your
part of.
expiration date was before 10:15 when you came
Well,
on stage.
I definitely made it past that. Let's say, 10:45. I stayed about a half an hour, okay, and 10:45 I walked out the door, and but not before really watching the performance and seeing the fans really enjoy it, and him mixing the music and his energy also that he brought to the performance, which was really really awesome. And it was great to just be an outsider, kind of, in that culture that they've built, and see people just having fun and letting loose after what a hard ass year we've had.
Oh, totally. And I think that's part of where a lot of the energy came from. I mean, I can imagine shows like this generally have an energy level like this that's, probably higher than you would have at a typical concert, or just your typical club. But there are a couple things I wanted to mention. I'm probably going to forget what all of them are, but your pictures are amazing. I mean, I know you just bought a new camera, but are you zooming way in, or are you right in front of the stage here capturing this?
Yes, I'm right in front of the stage capturing, except for the crowd shot, which I was up in the balcony. I went up to the balcony for a bit.
Okay, so it's not like you zoomed in from there.
No.
All right.
Right, we're good. Okay, was there another question?
Yeah.
Or
Yes, another question. So I've never been to, and I've been to clubs, back when I was in college, I went to a bunch of clubs. And I'm imagining the atmosphere here is more like a clubbing atmosphere and less sort of like a concert atmosphere. I might be wrong, but was there like a mosh pit? Did people they had someone on top of them and they're trying to like move them up and down, left, right? Did any of that shit happen? Stage diving?
I didn't witness any stage diving or mosh pit. A little bit of people, hanging out in a small circle or something in the middle, but not any real mosh pitting or crowd surfing or any of that sort of dynamic. Just people all joined together and having a freaking blast.
Okay, that's killer.
Yes.
So it's like, did he do any talking, or was it more the talking he did was just like
he talked a little bit, but
or?
I mean, he doesn't talk throughout it. He just, he hypes the crowd up, and and mixes the music, and they get really excited for the songs, and just have a freaking blast. And that was the show.
Yeah. Did the whole place smell like pot?
No, I mean, I smelled it when people were blowing it, but I had a mask on too, so I wasn't trying to get near people really. Right. I was keeping my distance. I didn't go down in the big crowd. I went around it, and I stayed up on the balcony away from people for the most part, because I'm not looking to get sick.
Do we know how Zedd got famous?
We don't.
Overnight internet sensations, or?
No, I don't know a lot of his backstory. I found out the night before that I was going to the show, so and I went to a good show, and I brought some cool pictures back.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, congrats for going to the show. It looks like a great experience. And kudos to Zedd for doing what he had to do to give people freaking energy.
I agree.
Excitement.
Yes. So Jens, I think it's a good time to bring in our guest. Again, I had the chance to talk to Ben from Yumi and Everyone We Know. And I mean, this guy's a guy who's lived a life, and he's been through some stuff, and he's pushing through and fixing himself. And I'm really proud that he's gotten his band back together, and has a new album that's coming out as well. That's in his estimation, the best work he's done. I think it's a really solid album too. So let's bring in Ben.
Hey.
Ben, how you doing?
Hey, it's a good day. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry I'm late. I was sitting in a different Zoom session. It bounced me out. I was there early, and it bounced me out, and and then I was like, I should check this and make sure it worked right. And so had to do a little finagling, but
that's okay.
But anyway,
that's okay. I appreciate the patience. Yeah, I have I have a condition called dysautonomia. It's a neurological disorder that I got essentially after like passing out a couple years ago and like hitting my head. So essentially like all of the stuff that your body does without you having to think about it, like doesn't work right in my body anymore. So yeah, occasionally I'll just get like skull splitting migraines, or like my stomach will stop working for like 2 days, or I'll feel like I'm having a heart attack, and it's just kind of like it's just been a interesting couple of years. But yeah, so I appreciate the patience
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
as I
You
manage.
actually, oh, I was just going to say, you posted about that on Instagram, and kind of one of the preventative reasons you can't kind of tour in different locations very much, right?
Yeah, as of right now, like I the last show, it's been a long while since I've played like multiple shows in a row, but just from like what like just holding my own body up at work does to me, like I know I need I need to be able to have like days off in between shows, because like I have to like just be able to lay down for a day to let my like nervous system essentially just like find its baseline again. um so yeah, it's yeah, we're gonna see how things go. I don't think like I'm not super pressed on touring in general. It's a you lose a lot of money, and I can't really like afford to do that. So yeah, we're playing as much as possible, and just seeing how it goes. We're just seeing how it goes. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So tell me about, I mean, we could just start more recent and kind of work our way back a bit, but tell me, about kind of pulling the band back together. Cause I mean, there's a lot to dig into with the layers of the band,
Yeah.
but, at different points, I know you've kind of felt like, okay, this isn't, we're putting up the towel, we're moving forward, sort of thing. What struck an interest in you to make another album, get back out there?
Actually, hitting my head. The last couple of years, to me, the the pandemic is the least interesting thing that's happened in my life in the last 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, yeah, it precipitated a lot of things, but just personally, yeah. So I hit my head, and then like after that, I started after I concussion turned into sort of like this prolonged issue, which is now this dysautonomia. But like in that process, I was seeing a trauma therapist, and um I have PTSD, and my ACEs score is 7. So if you're vaguely familiar, yeah, maybe 8 depending on definitions. But so yeah, I was going to this trauma therapist, and I like wasn't feeling any better. Like I was just like, what is, I was like diagnosed with like a dissociative disorder, which is just part of surviving in the life I've had. And so and then I read a book, from by Pete Holmes called Comedy, Sex, God. And then I read some other stuff by
Deepak.
this guy Ram Dass that he
Oh,
talked
Ramdas.
about. Yeah,
Ramdas. Yeah, I
yeah.
know Pete Holmes that, talks a lot about him. So
Yeah,
yeah.
read some of that. Then I started reading books, some other books about consciousness from a woman by the last name of Harrison, or Harris. I think she may be married to Sam Harris, the guy who talks
Mm,
about the meditation guy.
yeah.
Talks about robots in the future and stuff. Um, but yeah, so I just started reading all this stuff, and it kind of led to this like pretty radical spiritual awakening, in a way that isn't in interesting. When you really step back and look at everything, it it all makes sense. Just like the ideas of like non-dualism, like, those things are backed up by science, but you also have the the transrational notion of in Buddhism of like not one but not two. So just like there are these things that I've always like intellectually known, like that, like, for example, like the mass that makes us up takes up less space than than the space between the stuff that is us. So like we're less us than we are us. We're more not us than we are. You know what I mean? It's so like
Yeah.
there's all these like crazy, just it's all around us. Like one of my reasons, like my fascination with like Dr. Manhattan, from the graphic novel, is that like he was just like this. He was an unenlightened god. Like he had all the omnipresence, but none of the like the mental awareness of like what's going on around. But you get to that place towards the end of it when he's like, these miracles are just so common that you just lose track of them. That like it's sort of like trying to like asking a fish about water. That whole bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I realized through a lot of that through a lot of stuff and a couple other moments in therapy that like what I shouldn't have stopped making music. I should have just figured out how to do it in a way that wasn't like destructive or like in a way that was like damaging to my health, because it was inevitably like until recently.
Yeah. And so who did you pull together when you were kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this, we're going to make an album? How did you choose who you're going to kind of
it was
dive
just
into it with?
it was just everybody that or like most of the folks that I toured with like last time, and that we like played shows with. Like I sort of we had plans to like, this all was like meant to happen starting in like March or February of 2020. We had this like other rollout plan, and then all this happened, and so so that stuff got delayed for a little bit, but essentially I brought 11 songs to the band, or 11 sort of like ideas in various states of completion, and I was like, these are it. Like this is these are the songs. Like I had choruses for everything. Like we had some parts to fill in, and and we just moved from there. Yeah, it's crazy to me that we don't, like, the band doesn't have any B-sides, or like we don't have any unreleased songs that exist. Like I'm not sitting on anything like, no, this isn't good enough. Like it's pretty crazy that like that all the ideas worked, which is not
that
wild.
typical for you?
Yes and no, because like by the time I would say that because my method is not very like musician like, I tend to like, if I hear, or like I get some sort of inspiration or an idea, like I'll write it down, or if it's if I can record it, I'll record it, and then I'll just chuck it away for a while. I won't check in on it again, and if that idea like sticks in my head, and I'm I find myself like humming it or something later, then I'm like, oh, there's something to that. There's a reason I can't let go of that. So then I just investigate it more, and I do some more listening, and it proceeds forward. It's odd. I've never, I'm not a big songwriter. I think it's just, I don't know. These days, I think I'm just doing a lot more listening than I do creating. And I think that's worked out a lot better for me.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning. Like what music did your parents have in your house as a kid? What did you listen to growing up?
Like, I can remember listening to a lot of like what our parents would have called oldies. I'm guessing you're over 20 and under 50. Like
somewhere in there, yeah.
So like a lot of that sort of like doo-wop-y stuff. What was big in the essentially like late 80s and early 90s. I heard a lot of like a lot of Luther Vandross adjacent stuff. I remember some Rod Stewart in the house, a good amount of Bob Seger. I remember hearing James Brown and like Madonna real early. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Like whenever I just remember like music my mom listened to when like she was like doing chores on Sunday or something. Yeah, that, and then yeah, I ended up in Hawaii for a year, and I like discovered hip hop and R&B there, and then sort of came back to the East Coast with that after that year, and yeah, from there it's just the slow discovery of vaguely more aggressive music, vaguely more rhythmic stuff. Yeah, it's a real potluck, man.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have siblings that were influential at all in your
Not
taste?
particularly. Yeah, I was kind of like shut off. In all honesty, like I was pretty shut off from my family. Like after, so I was in Hawaii. I was in Hawaii for a year because I was essentially like I was kidnapped and tortured by my father and stepmother. So
Wow.
like yeah, so when I got back, for whatever reason, we decided to act like none of that happened. None of that happened, and yeah, so I like pretty much like walled myself off from my family because it was impossible to like hold what had happened to me in. So yeah, it's a thing. So yeah, my I don't have a lot of influences from my family on that in that respect. But yeah, no, my sisters. I wouldn't say like I introduced them to stuff, but I was pretty much like the musical explorer of the family in general. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
At what point did you, I mean, there's a lot to dig into there, but
Oh, dropping
but I
it,
mean,
dropping it. It's okay. It's okay. I've talked about it a lot. I've talked about it.
oh, okay, okay. So, I mean, how did you kind of, how did you recoup from that stuff? I mean, that's pretty intense.
I mean, yeah, you don't really recoup from it. This dysautonomia is in like my trauma is partly to blame for that. My startle response is what led to me like passing out in my bathroom. Essentially, I was like working like 80 hours a week. Like I owned a business that I lost due to COVID. And so yeah, I was like exhausted, sort of like drinking energy drinks just to wake up in the morning, and smoking pot to get to sleep at night, and just sort of like doing that over and over again. It's ironic. You take on ownership of a gym and you sacrifice the entirety of your health to get it going.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I like a broom fell in my bathroom and it scared, it startled me, and my body just like shut down in a snap. And I woke up like X amount of time later, and he's sort of like bloody and disoriented. But yeah, no, I mean, it's something that you don't really recoup from. You learn to, there's like stages to it, first, first you got to realize what happened, and eventually you learn to eventually you just learn to live with it. As far as I've experienced, I don't know, I don't know folks with I don't know, the only experience, the only comparable examples of other people I can find with similar things have happened to have been like children who have survived war. So it's like it's tough to manage, but you learn to live with it. It's I'm surprised even to this day, the ways I discover that it has shaped me. This band only exists because that happened to me. If I had healthy ways of communicating, or if I felt like I was being listened to in any semblance, in any sort of way, yeah. So it's you don't really get over it. You just sort of learn to live with it. I guess, it gets easier. It gets, but it requires work. Yeah. For what? Yeah. It's like somebody made something that happened to them my problem, because trauma either gets transmuted or transferred. you either change it into something worthwhile, which I would say I've done that with this music, or you transfer that trauma to somebody else, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work, and you're gonna come out. Yeah, it's a process. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that writing music, was a sufficient outlet for kind of channeling some of the feelings you had around, what happened in your
Yeah,
youth?
as the music's incredibly and awkwardly autobiographical. If anything, I'm an oversharer. I think everybody can agree there. There's a lot of detail in the writing, and I think it started as an accident because I was just writing and thoughts that I didn't think anybody would ever hear. Writing stuff down sort of lyrically that I didn't think anybody would ever hear because nobody had a conversation that was 2/3 as deep as that. You know what I mean? Like it. And so it was a lot of, it was a way of sort of like working, working through dangerous ideas in a safe environment in a way. So it's therapeutic. You can play with emotions you're still processing, in a lot of, like, you can't really do that in a lot of other places outside of art, really.
Yeah.
You can't do that in baseball.
No, not so much. There's not a lot of channeling there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about Warped Tour a little bit, and you got to do Warped Tour a couple years, right? So how was that experience for you? What were some of the highlights? I mean, that's a grueling tour, as grueling as it gets.
Yeah, we played it. Yeah, we played a couple stretches of it. It's challenging because a band our size doesn't have a staff. So, a lot of bands at Warped Tour have people that are helping them. They're like, you've got like, your tour manager, your merch dude, and your, so on and so forth. And the bigger you get, the more help you got, which is all necessary. But when you're a band our size, like, you're loading your shit up at 5:30 in the morning. Yeah, your wake up time is the crew's wake up time, that, like, stuff like that. So there wasn't a lot of, I remember one, like, I got super sick after like not sleeping for 2 or 3 days because it was so chaotic. It was one, like, the first time we played, like, I used to have bandmates that had problematic partners. So like everybody's girlfriend came one year, and so that meant, like, instead of 5 people in the van, there were 10. And it's like, all right, let's find a place to sleep. Like, so like that was challenging, but it, highlights are, you never encounter that many people that are just like waiting to listen to music and are sort of open to shit, like, I think that's one of the reasons that, like, Warped Tour was different, is that people were there for that. It was a very, genre centric tour. Obviously, exceptions to those general rules, but you'd be you'd be able to stop somebody or like talk to somebody about your band, and like your hustle is rewarded in earnest on Warped Tour. The quality of your, I mean, shit, some people are playing on bigger stages, or they have like a bigger crowd or whatever, but like you're all just sweating your asses off, like in some parking lot in Florida. Like, it's very much like, is this music and this show good or not? That's it. There's no bullshit about having more access or more money, or like yada yada yada. When you're on that, like, your time on stage is equal to everybody else's. And so, if you put on a good show and you make good music and you work hard, you can see returns that day. You
Yeah.
can see the fruits of your efforts in the morning, in the afternoon when you play, and yeah, you can't really get that at sort of like a thing like Lala where there's so many different genres, which is fine. It's great, but it like the approach is different.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm guessing from that you got the tour with the Color Fred. You met Fred at Warped Tour.
Oh no, that was before that.
Oh, was it?
Actually, like, yeah, we did that. That tour was in October of 2008, 2007. With yeah, and it was my favorite band, Paper Rival, and then this other band, the Pink Spiders. But yeah, that was a great little tour. It was neat to that was one of our first like big people tours. Like, all right, like these are established art, like these people are better at making music than you. Or like
Yeah.
they've been doing it for longer or whatever the thing is, like they've been doing it. Yes, that was cool. Like it was a fun time. I always enjoy tours with humble people that make great music.
Yeah. Yeah. What were some of the bands that you enjoyed touring with back in the day, or that you spent time with on Warped Tour as well?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Warped Tour was at this point, yeah, hell, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, yeah. I've been doing it a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, the people we played with on Warped Tour were cool. It was so varied though. But like we've bands like Paper Rival and Weatherbox, fantastic people to tour with. Future Crooks. I can go on. We also did a tour with Have Mercy. There was one with Forgive Durden and Ann Arbor way back. Just yeah, it's been a real treat to see a lot of great music on the road, because it's it's nice to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
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 It's
Yeah.
nice to enjoy as a listener.
Did you tour with Motion City Soundtrack at some point? I know you Josh Kane produced So Young, So Insane.
No, yeah. So we haven't toured with Motion City, but yeah, I don't know how Josh came up, but we got to the studio. When we got to the studio, we didn't have money. We didn't have the money to pay for the record, so we made that money during the 2 weeks we were recording. And it was funny, like Josh came in, he was like, I gotta be honest, I like the songs how they are, let's just get this going.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just got it done. Yeah, he was valuable as far as like contributing some interesting ideas or some thoughts about the record. Jordan Schmidt, the guy who engineered it, also a fantastic job. And he's doing like big things in lots of places now. But yeah, it was a pleasure. I miss Minnesota.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And back around that time, like you had an incident where the van caught fire. Tell me what happened there. What was that experience like?
Yes, so we were on tour with the Deer Hunter and Lydia and Alaska. Yeah, and we were arguing about what our next move should be in the van, and then out of nowhere the debate was like, should we find another tour or should we go record an EP? Because I was like, we put this shit out 2 years ago, we gotta do it. And everybody was like, how are we gonna pay for it? I was like, how are we paying for any of this? I'm gonna work a lot and y'all aren't gonna give me any money to help. Like, so we if we're being real,
hey,
if we're so that like the tire blows, and apparently like the heat from the tire blowing lit the grass under the van on fire when we pulled over, because it was like Georgia in August, super hot. So like I get out and I look under the van, and like it looks like, when you put a pan on the stove and you're bent over and you're like lighting it and it click, like, boom. it was that like that visual of like spread out flames underneath, like cooking the vehicle.
Yeah.
And like, so I like, popped my head back up and I was like, hey, we got to get out, the van's on fire. And everybody just kind of like looked at me, with all of our hungover faces, and we're like, shut up, man. Like, and everybody like went back to sleep. I was like, I'm not kidding. The van's on fire. We got to move. So like I run off and we all get out, and then like 5 minutes later, like the windows are popping, the tires are blowing, and the van's gone. The top, like the front of the trailer, melted. But fortunately, like all of the equipment and everybody's but my belongings were spared.
Oh my gosh.
Because I had put my suitcase in the van to change my clothes that morning, and we got going. So yeah, like all that happened. Yeah, we only missed one show. In all fairness, Noel's family, our original guitarist, like that day they were like, well, we're gonna buy like a used van for vacation, so like we'll just, and they drove a friggin' van down, and we're like, here you go.
Wow.
So we used that until Noel quit the band in 2010. Yeah.
Wow. And you took that as a sign to go in and record, right? Like,
yeah, no, immediately I was like, well,
yeah.
we can't, like, we don't have a van anymore.
Yeah.
So we borrowed. So no, that we had the new van. So we essentially, yeah, we took that and the gear we had up to Minnesota and recorded So Young, So Insane. And I actually had to like haul furniture from Minnesota to some town in Virginia in order to pay for the gas and like the last like 10% of the record.
Wow.
Yeah. I've you learn it, you figure it out when you're homeless.
It's a crazy experience,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so what did you learn from that experience? I mean, you mentioned being homeless. I know there's a while that you were homeless, like 3 years or something, right?
Yeah. So like the sort of the first year-ish of the band's existence, and then like from about a week after the van caught fire until like I got sober. Yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, you learn to survive. It's I've endured a lot in this life, and as much suffering as that has brought me, as it has raised my tolerance for suffering, and also made me pretty belligerent in the face of crisis.
Yeah.
So like, I was just very much like, what do you guys want to go home? You just want to, like, we're halfway through the biggest tour of our existence thus far, like, and you just want to go home. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry that you have a week's worth of clothes and all your suitcases, and you guys, like, I'm here in flip-flops, like almost booty short gym shorts and a white t-shirt. I was like, I'm just ass out. Like, I have literally nothing. I don't have an ID. I don't have a birth certificate. I don't have a social security card anymore. Like,
You
I'm
lost all
fucked.
that in the fire.
Yeah, it was all gone.
Holy hell.
So, because again, I was just kind of living transiently. And so yeah, I was like, let's, we can do this. We can figure something out. Like, I don't know what, we didn't have any money. We didn't, I was like, it might be a day or two, but there's something we can do. There's something we can do. Like, there has to be a way. Like, as always, I was always like, if we can get to Chicago, we can get home. Which meant home means like dropping everybody off in their different states that they lived in. Because at the time it was like New York, Virginia, Maryland, Illinois. So it was a lot of lost gas there.
Yeah, it sounds like yeah. But so talk to me a little bit about how you built your audience, like the work that you put into to building an audience. Was it always an intention to kind of put the band on the map, or did it kind of, where did that progress to your your fans?
So the band started in a weird way. I was playing guitar for another band, or I like joined another band to play guitar, and the songs I brought to the table, they felt strongly enough about the songs I brought to the table that they were like, we're starting over and you're singing. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But eventually I was like, fine. And once I sort of accepted that role, I was like, well, this is how I eat now.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna fuck around about it. Like I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do everything I can, and so that caused me to. I mean, that was my number one priority, So all the money I could, I poured into the band. All the money that I was able to, and yeah. So we did a couple things. We toured in the winter, quite specifically. I will say that touring in the winter as an independent musician is an easy way to get shows. Less people are coming through. Not everybody's fucking college band that's going to break up when they graduate is hogging all the friggin' dates. Like, and it's like, I get it. That's fine, I guess. But like, you can already afford college. You're fine. Like,
Yeah.
you're good. Yeah, so we did that. We made good music. Like it helps, sort of when we, like, as I said, like, okay, this is how I eat. Like, this is how I survive. I thought, like, all right, well, if I'm going to do this, like, I'm going to make sure that our music is undeniable. Like, you might not like it, or you might like not like the genre, might not like the sound, like it might not be your thing, but like it's going to be good, objectively good. And I think that was more because like I just at the time hated myself so much that I wouldn't allow it to be bad. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I white knuckled whatever raw talent I had.
Had no quit in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like now, ironically enough, like I try the least, and I've written the best. Like, the new album is the best thing I've written, and nobody does that. Find me another band 15 years into it that makes their best record.
Does not frequent. It's like sequels in movies, right? So it's almost never better than the original, with very few exceptions.
Absolutely. And I think it's, I mean, I'm just very excited about that whole bit. But we did this stuff that nobody else wanted to do. We did the grunt work. We messaged people, like, back when you could do, like, back when that was a viable thing. Like, we didn't think we were above that. I stayed up. I would get 2 hours of sleep a night just being like, hey, Mitzi, this is Ben. Like, I saw that you like this, maybe you'd like this. They're like, hey, Gary, like, we really appreciate, like, so on and so forth. Like, and that, I just, I care. We've done the stuff that other people didn't want to do. And that's it.
Yeah. So you do a Sunday night Twitch as kind of a routine, and you were doing it before and took some time away to make the album. But tell me kind of what you bring to that, and kind of what that does.
Yeah. So the first 8 weeks of it, we just launched. We launched on August 1st, after taking a couple months off, or a little while off, to work on the album and to sort of get my health in order, because like returning to work was a problem for me. I had been essentially like couch bound for 2 years because of the dysautonomia. And that's the other thing. Blood doesn't get all the way to my brain sometimes, so I'll lose my train of thought. What were we just talking about?
We're talking about the Sunday night Twitches.
The Sunday night Twitches. Yeah, so they launched on August 1st. And the first 8 weeks are essentially just an oral history of the band, talking about the set and setting of each album, or each song, meaning behind them, so on and so forth. If anybody has any questions, I answer those, and then once we finish up on September 19th with something heavy, we'll sort of be moving on to something a little more variety show-esque. So we'll see. But I think that'll be a good way to interact with folks and to connect with them when I can't tour. Yeah, but still, playing. Holy shit, that's a big spider. Sorry.
Coming at you.
I just had to make sure it wasn't on this side.
Right. It's on the other side of the window. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
not my problem.
Yeah. Live to see another day.
Yeah, but like I just like picked up. I just started like sort of like planning different ideas and different like sort of structures. One of the for me, one of the bummer things about this like my dysautonomia is there were like all these like formats of like content for this new album that I was like trying to do, or at least a lot more. We're doing a couple things that I feel good about, but there are some ideas that I just couldn't do because it's like, oh, I'm gonna be in the heat for too long, or like, oh, that might fuck me up, like, oh, I might hurt myself doing that, like what, like, so there were all there's some ideas that like I couldn't do, but I think that's been one of the bigger messages over the last couple of years for me, is just slowing down. You know what I mean? Like it's like the pace at which I've been conditioned to exist, that sort of like tensed up. I can't remember what movie, but it was somebody when they were talking about PTSD, it was like through the lens of being a soldier, but they were like, war puts lightning in your bones, like, and it just stays there. So it's like, for me, part of the last couple of years and part of what's been happening to me is like learning to like let go of some of that and figuring out how to grieve it. Yeah, figure out how to live with it. And I'm wandering off. Yeah.
You're good. So a couple more questions as we wind down, but you had mentioned Ram Dass earlier, and I heard you say somewhere that you like, lose yourself on stage, and that's something, kind of an idea you got from Ram Dass. Is that right?
Yeah. So I meant to, it was my initial plan to say that earlier, but I was like, I'm rambling too much already. So I thought I'd cut myself short. So yeah, in the long tail, the thing I didn't include earlier was that in therapy, truly one of the only insightful things that a therapist has ever said to me, sadly, like some of them help, but most of them are like a little gaslighty about my life.
Yeah.
But everybody goes through that. No, they fucking don't. Like, people can't be walking around in this condition all the time. But so that therapist said to me, then we've been meeting for the last couple of weeks, or maybe the last couple of months, and the only time that you seem centered and focused is when you talk about like making music or like performing. Basically, when you talk about that is the only time that you seem sort of centered and like present with yourself. And I didn't think much, like that was actually like what spurred me to tour and do the Dog Eat EP. I was like, oh, okay. So like I essentially like asked my wife for like a couple months off of work. I was like, can I just like not work and try this? Like the therapist was like, you should do that. So I tried it and it didn't work because I didn't have the other half of the lesson that was being learned there. And what I realized is, in thinking about the way I feel on stage, that I kind of just disappear and become part of whatever's happening in the room. Like I get yes, we get the ball rolling. We roll the ball forward. But then afterwards, it's just a larger organism. Quite literally, like our brain waves are syncing up when we're all listening to the same music. There's all this stuff about like just stuff that reinforces the notion of non-dualism, or the idea of like not one but not two. And so in thinking that, I'd read a quote from Ram Dass, and I often misinterpret things in a way that makes them more meaningful for me. Like it's the way I connected. But he's in effect, he said, like, instead of working on becoming somebody, we should be working on becoming nobody. And that, and then reading that, it then occurred to me, like, performing and making music is like when I become is how I become nobody. And I was like, wait, so that's what I need to be doing. I just have to figure out how to do it in a way that's not going to lead to me like losing my mind.
Yeah.
Essentially. So I've done that, in spite of the dysautonomia. I've done it. Yeah.
So I'm based in Napa, California, so I'm always kind of curious. Bands that have toured a lot. What is your favorite venue to play at in the Bay Area?
And we've only played the Bay Area once.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because the tours were on for some reason. And I'm kind of a bad luck band. Like, I have bad luck. I live life on a different difficulty setting, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
But it's everybody's own world. But yeah, it's either like, it's always been like, oh, there's 5 bands on the bill, there can only be 4 at our venue, or like, oh, just 3 band shows at this venue, or nope, sorry, there's a local guest that's playing, so you can't play. So the only place we played is 924 Gilman.
Okay.
Yeah,
we're Green Day.
No, actually, House of Spades.
Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades. Yeah, and that's in Sacramento, right?
Yeah.
If of those two, like, I like the sound system at Ace a lot better.
Yeah.
I could not appreciate the vibes at Gilman more.
Right. There's a lot of history in those walls there, right? So
it's just 2 completely different energies. But yeah, we haven't been able to play the Bay Area a lot, and it's a bummer to me because I know it's such a creative place.
Yeah.
There's or at least historically it has been.
I know you're not, doing a ton of shows, and you're kind of really strategic about the shows you have booked for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But if you're able to play the Bay Area, hit the Fillmore.
Fillmore.
I think your band could play there,
Nice.
Fill that room. And
I do plan on hitting California before it gets too warm next year. Because again, like heat, like dysautonomia, like I have like a heat intolerance. So I can't get too hot or I'll literally just pass out. And that's like 3 days off of work I got to take.
No, you don't want that for sure.
Yeah. So it's like Texas. I think I'm planning on getting there before it gets too hot. And then also California. Because like there's a couple people on the record that are like based in Los Angeles that I thought would be fun to perform with. We're announcing a show next week with one of the guests on the record. So it's gonna be a cool time. But yeah, announcing that show soon.
Nice. Well, yeah, hopefully you're able to make it out this way. It'd be great to see you live. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Ben, I want to thank you for taking the time. I really enjoyed our chat and getting to learn, some of the history, of the band, and
absolutely.
And I hope you're well as well, and still, taking care of yourself. You're still sober, right?
Oh yeah. 10 years. Yeah, I smoke pot, but like nice. I work at a dispensary. I have PTSD and like autonomic neuropathy. Like what else am I gonna? I'm just gonna take pills? No, I'm good. Like, just help me get to sleep and help me calm the sympathetic nervous system, and we're good.
Yeah, you're doing okay, and you're not hitting the stuff that was the problem, right? So
absolutely, yeah. It's I've never, strangely enough, like I've never been better. Which is interesting. There's these ideas that like Mr. Rogers used to say, like about like people suffering, that like they must be like like God must be like super close to them, you know, and God is a metaphor for every the isness, you know, so like that's so it's a really neat idea that, or you know, or even somebody like Richard Rohr, he's just sort of he's like a, I can't remember if he's like a friar or a monk or just a priest, wrote a book called The Universal Christ, and essentially he says that like folks that have suffered have a leg up in that sort of the process of life, because they've already learned the lessons that we often don't get until much later. And we spend so much time being like, why can't this be this way? You know, and it's only when we're older that we're like, oh, that's stupid, but okay. Like
There's a reason for it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you know, it's not that the joke stops, you're just in on it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good.
You know, that's
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, I wish you luck with the release of the new album. I'm sure you're ready for it to come out and get.
Oh, yeah.
And I know the response, you know, has been exciting online. You know, that
Yeah, I'm
you're back
excited.
and doing it again. So, yeah,
I'm proud of it. It's it feels good to feel good about it, and not be too stressed. It's great.
it's good. It's done.
Yeah.
And, you know, on to the next. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Well, you have a great rest of your day then. Okay, Ben?
Take care.
You too. That was the interview with Ben from You, Me, and Everyone We Know. And Jens, that takes us to the final segment on the program. What is it?
Well, Steve, it's time to talk about some music news, where we discuss what's going on in the music industry today.
That is right. We each have a couple of stories. We're going to move through them fairly quickly because we had a good long interview with Ben. But I'll let you take the first story.
Okay. So as we all know, we're still in the pandemic. And let me share a story about what's kind of going on with COVID and music festivals. So we've got a few outbreaks that are tied to music festivals that have raised outdoor transmission concerns.
That's a problem because I was just in a room with 8,500 fuckers, and if outdoors is a problem, we know indoors is, right?
Yeah. The thing is, my brain isn't wired normally. So when I read this headline, COVID outbreaks tied to music festivals raise outdoor transmission concerns, I'm thinking that the music festivals are being broadcast, right? They're being transmitted to the area.
Okay.
So, you know, people who aren't
privileged
enough to be inside the venue or whatever can listen to it online or whatever, right?
So you're telling me they're going to catch COVID from their TV?
Yes, that's what I gathered from the article title.
This is breaking news because we didn't think that possible at first, but
no, apparently it goes to the airwaves. Anyway, let me get on with the actual story. So experts say that closely packed crowds are likely responsible for cases tied to Oregon's Pendleton Whiskey Music Fest and Michigan's Faster Horses Festival. Michigan, Oregon.
I don't think there's a commonality other than they both had a big festival with a lot of people, and we have some major issues.
Yeah, that's what I'm gathering. I'm not going to read into that. Okay. So health officials are investigating COVID-19 outbreaks tied to these two music festivals. And it's raising new concerns about the safety of events with tightly packed crowds, like the one that Steve Jones was at last night, even outside, as live music surges back and the more transmissible Delta variant spreads. And we were talking about that earlier, Steve, where I haven't been out of the house for a while until yesterday. And then I was like, holy shit. I felt like I went back in time and everyone's all masked again. You know, I was starting to get to that point where I felt like non-masking is normal again. So I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, it sucks. It just all sucks, and
Yeah.
we need to get past this, and we have the means to do it, but not the brains to do it. So.
Right. All right. Okay, so let's talk just a bit more about this. So officials in Michigan say at least 96 cases can be traced to the Faster Horses Festival, which took place in Brooklyn, specifically in Michigan, from July 16th to the 18th, while authorities in Oregon are looking at 62 cases tied to the July 10th. At first, I read that as Peloton, like everyone's on their little bike spinning around.
The Peloton
show.
Festival. Yeah.
They're like huffing and puffing and coughing
Oh,
at
that
each
would be
other.
so
No
much
wonder
fun.
they're spreading this shit. And they're drinking whiskey, right? This is the
Of course.
Peloton whiskey, anyway, whatever. So
Right,
that's the name of the town, Peloton, Oregon. One person is considered as a secondary case infected by someone who contracted COVID at a Faster Horse. See, there is a connection. There was one guy that was somehow at both. He was hospitalized.
That guy.
Either event required attendees to be vaccinated.
Okay, so that's the issue. I mean, that's a big part of the issue because they're not being vaccinated. So what's the deal?
They're not. Where are the safety standards there? Like in comparison to the show that you were at last night.
Yeah,
you were telling me people had to download an app. They had to verify, that they came out negative on a test.
It's still possible though, right? I mean, you're in a room with a ton of people and they're telling you to be cautious. And so it's a challenge. We're all ready to be past this, but we still got to be careful.
Right.
And I mean, so until you read that last line, I was concerned about what Bottle Rock would be like, because Bottle Rock is a big festival where a bunch of people are going to be squished together outdoors to see Foo Fighters. We'll be there. And Guns N' Roses, right? So
Stevie Nicks.
But they're requiring the vaccination for Bottle Rock as well. So that's a big win. I think we still have to be careful, and we'll see how things are.
Like you said, man, they got to do what they can, and they can't make lapses like this shit happen.
So along those lines, my first story is that Live Nation will allow artists to set their own COVID-19 entry protocols, and they won't allow unvaccinated staff to work their shows.
Oh.
Yes.
We were talking about that earlier too, about like how employers are requiring people to be vaccinated to come back to work.
Yeah. So this is all a win, but they're allowing touring artists to set their protocols. So it's going to be up to the artist to determine what that looks like. It's interesting that it's not that the venue doesn't have a say in that sort of thing, but I think a lot of artists are taking it seriously. And so artists will be permitted to require proof of vaccination or negative COVID-19 test to perform a Live Nation show. I mean, that's the long and short of the story. Live Nation has gotten behind this and given that freedom. So this, I think, is a positive win for our ability to go to concerts in the future.
Yep. Fingers crossed.
Yes, sir. You have another story for us?
I do. I got a story about Kanye West fans who offered COVID-19 vaccine at huge donut listening party.
The fans offered the vaccine, like fans are going up and sticking people with needles, or?
That's what I thought. You see, I told you earlier that my brain does weird things with titles of stories. So here I'm like, fans.
That would be so awesome.
Somehow got the vaccine. Fans somehow got the vaccine and they're giving it to other fans, or they're giving it to Kanye West. I mean, I don't get it.
It's like a door prize. I like it. Just like, as you walk in, you get the bobblehead at the A's game or something. And, you just walk into a Kanye concert and you get stuck with it.
Oh my God, dude. Kanye West fans offered COVID-19 vaccine at this listening party. Why is it called Donut?
I don't know. That's the name of his album. That's the name of his album. I don't know what's going on in Kanye anymore.
I just can't get over the scene of people like handing, showing the person at the ticket at the ticket And next thing you know, there's this big needle like.
It's the best way to go. I am down.
All right. Anyway, so Kanye's fans were able to take advantage of a pop-up COVID-19 vaccine clinic while attending the rapper's latest album listening party. So is there somebody like on stage mixing his latest album? I mean, is there anything happening at this listening party, or is it just a room with people in it?
This is even less than one of those events happening where you have one person on stage. This is literally press play on the album, and there's 40,000 people at this thing or something to watch him press play. I don't even know. Is he there? I guess he's there. He lives. I think he lives there or something, right? So, yeah.
Okay, so that's not a concert either, and that's not even. That's not, you can even say that you went to like a club. That's just a
weird gathering of people listening to a CD. Yeah, I know. It's really weird, but I would have to be on something to go to that too. So,
I mean, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to relate here. Like, if there was, you know, some band that I absolutely loved, they weren't going to be there. I'd have to pay. How much were these tickets? Any idea?
I think it's. I'm assuming it's free. I don't know. Is it? I have no idea.
It's free. Oh, okay. Well, there's that. Like, would I still want to do that? Like, if it was the Foo Fighters for you, would you go with like a bunch of people in the stadium and just listen to Foo Fighters on shitty speakers?
So I get the album. I get to hear the album a week before it comes out, or 2 weeks before it comes out, and I have to go deal with 40 motherfuckers in a stadium, and who knows if I have to pay for parking there, right? I'm sure I do.
Yeah, it's free, right? Free, but parking is like $100.
No, I'm like, no, I think that's a hard pass, really, right? And we're not even talking here at a year ahead of time or anything. That album's going to be out soon if it's not already. So,
right, yeah.
No.
Okay. Anyway, so like what you said earlier, you know, maybe this is a culture. This is another kind of, you know, culture.
I mean, it's a culture, kind of yes.
It's definitely.
It's a Yeezy culture.
So.
That's his nickname.
Right.
Yeezy.
So this is a rapper's latest. Oh, it's easy.
It's
You're disrupting
Kanye.
me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Kanye. Okay, so the vaccine clinic while attending the rapper's latest album listening. Okay, so to continue, West hosted a second listening event for his anticipated new album, Donna, or is it Donna?
I don't know.
Donna. Anyway, last night, ahead of anticipated arrival later today. That was yesterday, 2 days ago. Okay, so it's out. Yeah, you said it said 72,000 fans. Jesus, the Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You realize Mercedes-Benz has 2 stadiums. The other one's in New Orleans.
Okay, carry on. I don't see that. I don't see it on Apple Music, so I don't think it's that.
Oh yeah, somebody fell asleep. They didn't make it back from the.
It's still not. The
person responsible. The person responsible for releasing that album was at that event and has not woken up yet. Okay, so
yeah.
So they're offering Pfizer vaccines to fans attending the listening room. Okay, well, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully some needles got, pricked into people, and everybody counts. So that's good.
Exactly. Everybody counts. Whatever you can do to get vaccinated, and if that means hang out with 42,000 people, why not?
Or get a vaccine and go and prick your friends, who aren't doing it. That sort of thing, right?
Right.
It'll be a fun activity. We can get on this.
Exactly. Yeah. Go and play some practical joke on your dumbass friends to get them vaccinated.
Then do it again 28 days later. Okay. Jens, I got one more story for us. You know who it involves. You
do? Okay.
I delivered today. Well, let me say, the Foo Fighters delivered in a way that is so Dave Grohl. So Foo Fighters trolled the Westboro Baptist Church with a disco altered egos at a Kansas show. Yeah.
Wait, what?
The Westboro Baptist Church. Are you familiar?
No. Like, where the fuck is that?
Oh, is that okay. So you're missing the whole punchline. The Westboro Baptist Church is a cult that yeah. Are you familiar at all?
It's a cult? Why don't I know about this?
Okay,
No.
we can't go into what
This
the
is
Westboro
new?
Baptist Church on this. We don't have time, but you need to look up what the
Just
Westboro.
give a brief 2-second history.
Okay, I need wiki because I
There
don't
might be
want to
some other
get.
people that don't know about this.
I need wiki because I definitely need to enter back
Oh yeah, you're going
because I
to
don't
like Wiki Crutch.
I don't want to get in. This is something I don't want to get information wrong about, but it's an American hyper Calvinist hate group. It's known for engaging in inflammatory, homophobic, and anti-American pickets, as well as hate speech against atheists, Jews, Muslims, transgender people, and numerous Christian denominations. The Baptist Church is not affiliated with any Baptist denomination and has been denounced by the Baptist World Alliance, the South Baptist Convention, and other mainstream Christian denominations. There are currently 70 members of the church, and they go, their official website is godhatesfags.com. Yeah, so they've been against
What year is
gay
it?
people. They've been against gay people since 1989, excuse me. Yeah, you need to learn
So
about
they
the
loved gay people before that?
Right, yes. I don't know, everything changed then. But so aside from this podcast, after we're doing this podcast, you're going to be educated on the Westboro Baptist Church, okay?
Apparently.
So there's in quotes, you shouldn't be hating. You know what you should be doing? You should be dancing. You should be dancing. So they've trolled the Westboro Baptist Church with their disco side project after they picketed the band's show in Kansas last night, and the Foo Fighters have rickrolled the Westboro Baptist Church before. By the way, this is like a couple years ago.
See, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
Because we talked about that event.
We did.
I just didn't realize it was a cult back then. I thought
Oh,
it was just some church.
No. Okay, so yeah, you apparently we didn't make that clear for you last time, but you need to research this. It's this Westboro Baptist Church, and the hate group has targeted Foo Fighters shows on numerous occasions in the past. They turned up at the band's concert in the Zora Amphitheater with a series of chants and placards, including one which read, "God sent the coronavirus in fury." But they were soon drowned out by the Foos, who adopted their comedic dance alter egos, the DGs, to tackle the hateful activities. They drove on the back of a pickup truck. The band dressed in 70s style jumpsuits as they performed their own take on the Bee Gees' "You Should Be Dancing." And Dave Grohl addressed the protesters and said, "All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, I got something to say, because you know what? I love you. I do. The way I look at it is that I love everybody. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Can't you just love everybody? Because I think it's about love. That's what I think. We're all about love, and you shouldn't be hating. You know what you should be doing? You should be dancing." So
should be dancing.
And then they went into the rendition of the Bee Gees.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So the group said on Twitter that Foo Fighters' Dave Grohl claims he loves everybody and Westboro Baptist does not. Hello, there's no love encouraging sin. Someone might accuse Dave of being a pretender, using his song "Pretender," against them. And there was 2011 when they interrupted a Kansas picket. Wow, that was a while ago.
Damn.
Oh wait, no.
How can a cult be around that long?
The truck thing was in 2015, so we did probably. Anyway, yeah, we've talked about it. So, all right.
Well, way to go, Dave.
That made up for not having a story last time, right? So.
Yes, it did. And I wonder if the people behind this cult just decided to carry on, just to get Dave Grohl back. It's like, we got him back again. We're not really assholes. We just wanted Dave Grohl to come rickroll us. I try to look at the bright side of everything, right?
Always look at the bright side of life.
Side of life. La-lum. La-la-la-la-lum.
Yes. All right. Well, that is our show for today. At the time of this recording, we do not have an interview lined up, so we'll be back in a week or two with something new. Subscribe to the podcast for the newest episodes, iTunes and Stitcher. And for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, that's Jen Schipple.
And that is Steve Jones.
We'll catch you next time.